Yo, yo, yo. What's good? What's good? It's Stormybman, and I am back. Welcoming you to Nerds on Culture with Stormybman for this Monday, September 2nd, 2024. This is Labor Day, and we are bringing you episode number 97 in the series of Nerds. And we are calling this one the title of the soon to be in production Fantastic Four film from Marvel Studios. And this film will be the MCU's debut of the characters that they have referred to as the first family of Marvel. And though we're entering phases 5 and 6 of the cinematic universe for Marvel, these characters will finally find their way home to the MCU because they were properties that were under Fox Studios and Marvel didn't have the rights to the characters. But many of the characters that were over at Fox Studios, when Marvel reacquired the rights to those characters and properties, they had to wait for a contractual expiration time before they could start using the characters that Fox Studios had been making films with and about. It's a process that we as the public, when we go to see these properties in the theaters, and we don't want to hear about all that jargon. We just want to know when you're going to bring it, and it's been a long wait. But just like last year when they released the Black Panther 2 and they introduced the character Namor, the Submariner, he had been over at another film studio under their property. I believe he was split with Universal Studios, and his character, the Submariner, and the Incredible Hulk were with Universal Studios, which meant that if Marvel wanted to do something with those characters, they would have to make the film and share the profits and proceeds with that film studio. And even if that studio didn't do any of the heavy work to have the films distributed, and everything, deals would have to be arranged and money would have to be divided up and all of that. So they just didn't work with those studios under those auspices. And wouldn't you have it that those studios finally went under, and as far as owning those IPs, and then Marvel was able to bring certain characters back, which is why you're going to start seeing these films. Namor was introduced in the Black Panther film. They kind of changed some of his background to make him more relatable ethnically, and that's kind of understandable. But I'm still an advocate of remaining true to source material, which is what made them successful in the meantime. Characters that are written a certain way, have a certain background, and who have been on the graphic page for 40 plus years, it doesn't serve well to just go and change something to try to generate an audience for it, because I'm going to say this: the audience is already there. If you bring in new audience, that's wonderful. But if you're really trying to shape it to see who you can get into the theaters, that's not really a way to hit the home run. My personal thoughts on that be what they are. It is what it is. But this film is now the 4th iteration of Marvel films depicting these characters. When you think about it, you had an original iteration in 1992, which was followed up in 2004, released in 2005, the Fantastic Four, which actually had a sequel, Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer, and that was released in 2007. And a third film with the Silver Surfer spinoff film were canceled. And then a reboot of the series was in 2015. And though it had huge negative reviews, they still had planned a sequel, but then it was canceled. So the Fantastic Four has had a rough go. And I think that the main reason why is because the studios producing the films prior to now the MCU having the opportunity were, one, not able to, they weren't able to produce the film with the proper budget. That was the 1992 film. Two, the second iteration of the cinematic property was a little bit too lighthearted and not serious enough, because it came in a particular time when comic book heroes were graduating from being campy into a more serious presentation, and they kind of hit right in between there. The most recent iteration, which was that 2015, it was a little bit all over the place because the director of the film, Josh Trank, who had a successful independent superhero film that he had directed called Chronicle, depicting these young people who came in contact with alien technology that gave them superpowers. That film was very successful, and he was hired to direct a new iteration of the Fantastic Four, and he may as well have made Chronicle 2, because the Fantastic Four film that he produced was not the characters that we know from source material, even though they did use what was called the negative zone and the familiar four characters along with Doom. It wasn't what audiences really wanted. And then the swapping of ethnicities and such, it was not something that's popular, because you have to understand, in graphic comics, having successful characters and IP means that the faithfulness to the source material, because people who read these comics for so many years and finally waited for a live action rendition of it, they held fast to what they really wanted. And then when they get what they when they get what they were waiting for, and it's been switched up on them, people rebel against that. There are plenty of ethnic characters throughout graphic comics, and some of them are very interesting stories, but to switch it up, again, like I said, just to try to draw someone's ire or interest, you can really be doing a bad thing. I remember seeing someone depict this when they took a picture of Christopher Reeve that was him from one of the Superman films that he had done, and he was wearing a raincoat, the Clark Kent glasses, and the top hat, and it was obviously Christopher Reeve, you know, in a shot that looked like Clark Kent from one of the Superman movies. And this was early on in internet, where they said that Christopher Reeve has been hired to do the Malcolm X story. And I'll never forget that meme, because that was way back, almost 25, almost 30 years ago that they did that. And it was crazy, because it was like exactly what we're talking about. But of course, Denzel played Malcolm X and was so successful and brilliant in that role. But to think about Christopher Reeve, you know, and taking that image of him and saying, "Oh, he's Malcolm X," you know, it was crazy, man. But that's like what I'm talking about. And they've done that by switching characters around who were Caucasian and making them black, who were male and making them female. They've done this whole gender swapping thing. They've made people characters that you've known and loved and read through the graphics for generations, and changed their sex on them to be same sex interested characters. It just, all of this stuff, and I'm sorry, but if you want to tell those stories with those characters that are of that ilk, because they are characters who have been written that way since their inception. So I believe through thorough insight and focusing in on this Marvel Studios, the MCU's iteration of the Fantastic Four, the whole concept about first steps means that this may very well be a long-awaited first attempt to bring the first family of Marvel to the big screen in a way that is most relatable to audiences of the source material and those who have awaited through the disappointments over the course of time. So, those are my thoughts, opening up on this. And just know that we're waiting for my brother Drew Titan. He had some issues going on with his computer. So, and I told him, I said, I know what that's all about. So we patiently await that. But I thought that I would kind of open up talking about where we have come from as far as looking at the Fantastic Four. And we will get the chance to speak further in greater detail about that once the brother joins us. But I'll take a quick moment to acknowledge whom we may have out there in the chat this evening. We got the brother Jimmy Bernard is out there saying, "What's good, Druth and Sensei? Salute to the chat. Best freaking show." Thank you for that, Jimmy Bernard. Good to see you. B-Mac is out there. Anthony Bolton is in the building. And 4-ounce Sniper is with us. Mr. Shelton is out there saying, "Save me, man." No, we're going to leave you out there in space, and maybe that cosmic storm that caught up the Fantastic Four might grab a hold of you, Mr. Shelton. And if it does, you better come back with some superpowers, else you're done. Yeah. Jimmy Bernard says, wondering if Doom will be introduced in this film. And Phenomenal New Mexican is back saying, "I watched Silver Surfer in the movies as a kid." J Man is out there, says that Jimmy Bernard, it was said he is, but maybe just a short segment leading to the big stuff like they did Thanos. Learn is in the building saying, "Salute, Sensei." J Man says, "I'll forever love the first two films. Still was pretty epic as a youngster." And that's kind of what that was. That was geared toward a younger audience, which is understandable. But the MCU has been graced with being able to cover all of the audiences from small ages to older ages. And I think that that's what they're trying to do with what they're producing now. Yeah. Just trying to catch up with my Jimmy Bernard says they have Galactus in the film. We're being told that Galactus is going to be a major part of the story dealing with the Fantastic Four. Also, elements of the multiverse is going to be a part of this as well. There will be some connections. If you guys have watched any of the Loki Disney Plus series, there are elements of the TVA and everything that Loki dealt with that'll be a part of this. That's an interesting thing too. And it's not about, oh, you got to watch this to know what's happening. It's just that they've taken certain story hints and have brought them over because it serves the purpose of what they want to do with these characters. J-Man says, I think we're going to get the best Fantastic Four ever made. Yeah, possibly. And Phenomenal Mexican says, I can't believe people didn't like the first Ghost Rider. Well, that's because, first of all, Nicolas Cage, man, it's like he's a particular type of character actor. And when you put him in a situation where he's playing a Marvel character or even a DC character, because he was once tabbed to play Superman, you kind of look at him as Nick Cage, not the guy he's playing, right? And except for when you saw him in Kick-Ass, right? When he played that character in Kick-Ass, because a lot of people didn't know that character. That wasn't a well-known, established for generations character like a Ghost Rider or a Superman. So when Nick Cage played that character, he was more well received. But Nick Cage is still a guy with the acting chops and experience to raise the level of films. It's just really up to him to do that. But he also has the type of facial appearance that he's kind of in between a guy. He could be a rugged guy, or he could be a mild-mannered dude or something, but it's all in how they present him. Some people think the Ghost Rider film, Spirit of Vengeance, was pretty good. And it had Idris Elba in there and everything. So some people thought that one was pretty good. I always enjoyed the Ghost Rider films because I thought the bike was out of sight. I loved his bike, man, when he rode that bad fella, and it was like leaving a trail of flame. And in the first film, do you guys remember when he and what's my man? What's his name? Elliot, the actor, the old guy with the mustache, who played General Ross in The Hulk. Sam Elliott. When Sam Elliott played the older Ghost Rider, and he was on a horse, and Nick was on his bike, and they was going through the desert, I thought that was a cold scene right there, man. They were rolling in the desert, and the horse was leaving a trail of flame, and Cage's bike was leaving a trail of flame. That was a hell of a that would make a great poster or a thumbnail or wallpaper for your computer, man. That shot right there, I thought that was so cool in that film. Yeah, I love that, man. So yeah. Yeah, Drew is telling me he's having some issues, that there's an outage in his area, and he's having a hard time getting his signal up and everything. But we're gonna rock it out, you guys. We're gonna rock it out, because that's what we do here, you know. Hope that the brother gets his service back so he can join for this show. So, but yeah, talking about the Fantastic Four, just to give a little bit of a background on them, because they, again, were referred to as Marvel's first family, huh? And they debuted in November of 1961. And what happened is, according to the Marvel Wiki, it says it helping to usher in a new level of realism. It was the first superhero team created by artist, co-plotter Jack Kirby and editor and co-scripter Stan Lee. And through this title, the Marvel method style of production came into prominence. The four characters traditionally associated with the Fantastic Four, who gained superpowers after exposure to cosmic rays during a scientific mission to outer space, are Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, a scientific genius and the leader of the group, who can stretch his body into incredible lengths and shapes. The Invisible Woman, Sue Storm Richards, his wife, who can render herself invisible and project powerful invisible force fields and blasts. The Human Torch, Johnny Storm, who is Sue's younger brother, who can generate flames, surround himself with them, and fly. And the Monstrous Thing, Ben Grimm, their grumpy but benevolent friend, a former college football star and Reed's college roommate, and a skilled pilot who possesses tremendous superhuman strength, durability, and endurance due to his stone-like flesh. You see, at the time that these characters were written and fleshed out, this was something different, because in the old comic vein, you had superheroes, and then you had male tandems like Batman and Robin. You had single identity characters like a Superman or a trying to think of on the Marvel side, you had someone like Thor or the Submariner. Captain America had Bucky, you know. And when the Fantastic Four came about, the fact that they were a family, you know, and close-knitted, and they had regular people problems too, because having the superpowers that they were introduced to, they still had to function in everyday life. They argued and fought and had issues like families do. That was a staple that really made Marvel well received amongst audiences and people who followed their graphics. And the Fantastic Four were really strong in that department. And also, when you had a character like Ben Grimm, whom became, like they say, monstrous with his orange rock-colored form as the Thing, you know, he found it hard to be accepted as a person. You know, it's like people looked at him as a beast and everything, And he had to deal with that. He had to find clothes that could fit him and things of that nature, special, custom, tailored made. And he ended up finding a girlfriend who happened to be blind. And that meant that they could get to know each other without her judging his appearance outright. And I thought that that was interesting because Stan Lee was very creative in writing how characters could be relatable to one another. And Ben's girlfriend being blind was like her having another superpower as a part of the Fantastic Four, because her heightened senses and her heart was stronger due to what someone may have viewed as a weakness, but it was a strength. And each and every one of them had strengths that were enhanced by what they suffered from, because the fact that Sue could turn invisible, remember, she had to learn how to use those powers. She could become embarrassed or emotionally distressed and she would disappear. Johnny, he could be hot-headed and he could, go into fits or something, and he had to learn how to control his flaming. Reed, if he, with his super intellect, allowed himself to go, he could literally fall apart as a man whose body could stretch and wind and be shaped in so many different ways. He had to learn how to control all of that. So these were things that when they came together as a unit, it really made them a super team, So that's one of the things that even all the films that have been made up to this date, they may depict some of that, but no film has really told it best yet. And we're hoping that Fantastic Four, the first steps, are able to do that for us, because we've been waiting a long time, especially those of us who are like my age and a little bit older, because there are some aficionados who appreciate these graphics who have been around a little bit longer than myself. So it's something to be thought of. Now, here's an image of how they looked and appeared after Jack Kirby had introduced them. Though this is not necessarily all of Kirby's art, it is Kirby's art, but with a different person who, inked the art. And as you see Ben Grimm as the orange rock figured man there, that huge brow that he had over here, it's like it stood out almost like I forget what they call that, but when your skull and your brow sit out over your eyes. There were men, believe it or not, who had craniums that were shaped like that, but when he took Ben and made him into the Thing, that was a prominent feature of his face. And though even in the IPs that came cinematically, it was never really done like it was in the comics, there was always a little something up over his eyes or whatever in the depictions of the Thing, but not like what we're going to see coming up in the new iteration, the first steps. But getting back to the Fantastic Four, the first film in 1992, here's a look at the cast that played the Fantastic Four. And as you can see, Ben is a little bit bigger than everyone there. He's an orange rock figured guy. His brow is kind of, large. But Reed has the gray streaks in his hair with the little curl across his forehead as depicted in the artwork. As you can see, he's got the little curl on his forehead there. Sue with the bob haircut, and she's, you know, looking, and her brother Johnny, they're both blonde, and that's how they were known as in the comics. And these costumes that they are wearing in the 1992 film, it really is depicted how they were in the original animations and everything regarding the Fantastic Four. The blue and white with black trim. It was something that was very prominent and a staple for them when they were originally drawn. And you can see a little bit of it here in this cartoon rendition of it from Jack Kirby. Now, the 2005 film, where they starred more, you know, known actors, Ian McGrath, you had Jessica Alba as Sue Storm, you had Chris Evans playing Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm. You know, these guys, when they played the Fantastic Four, they were, like I said, geared more toward a younger audience, and there was success in that. Their costumes weren't too bad. Ben Grimm could have been a larger dude, but you know, it was what it was. And the whole point of that was the guy that played Ben, Michael Chiklis. Michael Chiklis was, you know, if any of you used to watch the TV show 24, he was popular off of that show, but he had always said he loved Ben Grimm and would love to play him. And he had the voice down pat. I thought that he made a good Ben Grimm for his voice. But as one of my old colleagues used to say, man, what's up with that 5'11" Ben Grimm? Because he was kind of short, Michael Chiklis. But it was all right, you know, it was fun. And listen, but I couldn't see him trying to face the Hulk, huh? That little Ben Grimm right there, man, the Hulk would smash him, bro. So that was, but yeah. I just cracked up every time I see him because I think about what my buddy said when he called him the 5'11" thing. Let me see here. We got a couple more comments. Champion Heart is in the building saying salute to Sensei Stormy. And chat, hope this new Fantastic Four is done right. Jimmy Bernard says they did a good job. It was a good cast. He says he played the TV series The Shield. Yeah, I said 24, didn't I? I'm sorry. Forgive me. That was my bad. I had a couple different things going on through my mind and mixing my TV shows up. The Shield. Yeah, Michael Chiklis, man. Appreciate that correction there, Jimmy Bernard. Salute to you. Young Hollywood in the building saying it was The Shield, Stormy. That was the show. Yeah, okay. Boy, y'all be ready to jump and correct somebody. You know, I ain't got no problem admitting that I made a mistake. But damn, you know, show that same kind of enthusiasm when I be asking questions or something, or when I call upon the chat to respond to something. Or where you at with those quick comebacks then? Huh? You see? You people, you kill me with that bullshit because you be trying to show somebody up. I know some of you on the sneak, but hey, I make mistakes just like anybody else, and you ain't no damn better than me, huh? How about that, huh? Put that on TV, huh? In fact, I'm already on TV. How about that? Yeah. Yeah. Shit. El Correcto out there with erasers and shit, but you fail in the grade, huh? Yeah. Get me started, man. Yeah, coming back. Anyway, the 2015 film. This was the one that really Fox messed up. They messed up big time because Michael B. Jordan was brought in to play Johnny Storm, and it turned out that they turned Sue Storm into somebody that was adopted, and into a black family, which was Michael B. Jordan and his dad. And Ben Grimm, they tried to use CGI for Ben Grimm, And Ben Grimm, if you're gonna do Ben Grimm CGI, make him look like Ben Grimm, Don't make him look like a giant mountain of rocks, That's animated. And I ain't even gonna say much. Well, I will say something about Reed Richards, cast in this one here. Listen, man. Miles Teller cast as Reed Richards. Are you kidding me? They must have been sitting around smoking on some good stuff, them executives, when they came up with this cast. They must have said, you know what, we're gonna blow people's socks off, just like this stuff is blowing our minds right now. As they took more tokes. And that director, Josh Trank, but he ruined everything with what he did with this film here. Ruined it all, man. When people saw this, people were pissed off, man. They were pissed off. And the thing walked around with no drawers on. Now, they didn't show his junk. He was just all rock man. They didn't have no, body parts or nothing. But why didn't they put some pants on him like they did with Michael Chiklis's Thing character, Put some shorts on him or something. But no, he just walked around, rock ass all out, Michael B. Jordan running around here playing Creed as Johnny Storm, Because he didn't even find himself as an actor until he stepped out of that little box he was in, and he played the character that he played in Black Panther, That's when he came out. But listen, again, a lot of times it has to do with the director. And like I said, this director, Josh Trank, he really blew this film, He blew it with all of this, the Chronicle and everything. I told you, it might as well have made Chronicle 2 and forget about Fantastic Four, because what he did with the Fantastic Four and the characters from Marvel, he basically stooped on them, man. He stooped on them. This is crazy, man. This is crazy. Champion Heart says that movie was straight garbage. Jimmy Bernard says that was really that was really bad, that movie. The only thing I give this movie was Sensei is the graphics. Not even that, man, because it was a very dark and drab film. If you look at that poster art right there that I got on the screen for the movie, that's basically how the film was depicted. Dark, dreary. The characters were dark. The actors were miscast. It was really a piece of boo-boo. It really was. And people didn't like this film. And Josh Trank had the nerve to get mad at the people and call them foolish for not receiving this well. I'm like, dude, do you realize what you did to these characters? Like I said, he could have made Chronicle 2 and been straight. But no, he turned these people inside out, man. But to go back for a little bit, you guys, on the original cast of Fantastic Four from 1992, this film has an interesting history because audiences in the theaters in 1992 saw a trailer for this film, and it said, "Coming to theaters soon, the Fantastic Four." And there were little snippets, but not a lot. The whole point of that was this film was made to not be shown to audiences. There is a full documentary on this called Doomed, the Fantastic Four, the Roger Corman film. Roger Corman had a studio called New Horizon Studios, and he produced a lot of films that were low budget films. But they came to him. Constantine Film bought the film rights to the characters in 1986. And they came to Roger Corman and asked him if he could make this film for $1 million. Now, what it turns out that was never talked about, he told them, let me, see if we could go over a story. We'll get back to you in a few days and let you know if we can make this film for $1 million. Now, this was back in the early 90s. Remember this. The film was greenlit. Roger Corman told them they can make this film for $1 million. So the actors were cast. It went right into production right away. The documentary is very good on this film because what then took place was some of the weirdest stuff. The actors did their parts. They played the roles. They shot the film. It was edited quickly and then shelved with no intent to show it in the theaters. The thing about that, Constantine Film wanted to hold the rights for those characters. And then they sub-licensed the film rights to 20th Century Fox. But the whole point was to keep the characters, film IP out of the hands of Marvel, who were going through some financial problems at the time. And superhero films were kind of hit and miss. They were starting to come around again after the Batman films. The Christopher Reeve films of Superman were in the late 70s, early 80s, but we're talking about going into the 90s. So there was a look at trying to do these superhero films again, like Captain America. There was a film that they had did. An Iron Man script had been floating around. A Black Panther script had been floating around. Blade, some other characters. And this Fantastic Four film that audiences who saw certain movies in the theaters remember seeing that trailer, but the film never came out. And people started questioning, man, whatever happened to that Fantastic Four movie that was supposed to come? Well, going to the DC Marvel comic conventions and stuff like that, people began to ask questions. And these actors and actresses that were in this production, they would show up at some of the conventions and stuff like that. And they were talking, they were like, they didn't know what happened to the film. As far as they knew, it was supposed to get released, but it never made it to theaters. Roger Corman received $1 million in payment for the film, and it was put on the shelf. Someone took a video of the film and made a bootleg out of it, and that bootleg began to show up at certain comic conventions. I actually have a copy of it that I had picked up almost 10 years ago myself. Now, what's interesting is this. The film wasn't really bad. It was cheaply done because it was made on a real minuscule budget for the special effects that were required. But the Ben Grimm that you see on there, his face was a full animatronic, something like that, whatever that word is, that his face was fully articulated. And it was a man in a suit who had a mask over his face that was animated. And he could growl, he could smile, he could raise his eyebrows up and down, he could give a stunned look on his face, all of that. So the money went into that. Now, Reed stretching out and Sue turning invisible was all done with camera tricks. Johnny's flaming was done with some kind of animations and stuff. But the film could have been a lot better had it been produced with a greater budget. And the actors and actresses that played these characters, they were very, much into what they were doing. They took their roles serious. You had a theater actor that played Victor Doom, and he took his role serious, but it was simply the budget of the film and the fact that it was never to be released to the public. And in the documentary that talks about the film, these guys expressed their displeasure with how they were treated, how they were fooled, and they didn't get their proper, acknowledgement for what they went through. Just an unfortunate situation. Can you imagine that? You're an actor or actress, you're starring in a production, you put your all into it and everything, and then the film is finished, and then it hits the shelves, never to see the public eye. Never. Yeah. And a prominent film like this, it was the Fantastic Four. I'm talking about 1992. Could you imagine sitting in the audience watching that trailer, like that film is coming, and you're waiting on it, and it never happened? I don't think I totally recall seeing the trailer in the theaters, but I very well may have, but it was a very long time ago. But it's kind of like one of those things that it came and it went, and you didn't realize it until someone says, hey, do you remember seeing a trailer for the Fantastic Four? But the movie never came out. And then you're like, wait a minute. Oh yeah, I was saying so-and-so. I was in the theater watching this or that. Do the Right Thing or something like that. It was like the trailer, they showed it, but the movie never came out. Just an amazing thing, man. Just an amazing thing that those guys went through what they went through. And very unfortunate because they were trying their best with what they had to deal with. But let's get into Fantastic Four, The First Steps. Now, this film is finally back in the graces of Marvel Studios. And according to the wiki on it, it says that it is an upcoming American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics superhero team, the Fantastic Four. It'll be produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Walt Disney Studios. It is intended to be the 37th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the MCU, and the second reboot of the Fantastic Four film series. The film is being directed by Max Shakeman from a screenplay by the writing team of Jeff Kaplan and Ian Springer, Josh Friedman, Cameron Squires, Eric Pearson, and Peter Cameron. It features an ensemble cast including Pedro Pascal as Reed Richards, Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, Joseph Quinn as Johnny Storm, and Ebon Moss-Bachrach as the title of film, along with Julia Garner and Ralph Ineson. 20th Century Fox began work on a new Fantastic Four film after the failure of the 2015 film. The studio was acquired by Disney in March 2019, and control of the franchise transferred to Marvel Studios, and a new film was announced that July. John Watts was set as director in December 2020, but stepped down in April 2022. Shackman replaced him that September when Kaplan and Springer were working on the script. Casting was underway by early 2023, and Friedman joined to rewrite the script by that March, with Squires and Cameron also writing. Marvel Studios wanted to tell a new story with the characters rather than retell their origin story. Pearson joined to polish the script by mid-February 2024 when the main cast was announced, and additional casting took place in the following months. The filming began in late July at Pinewood Studios in London. So it is in production right now, and the film is being shot presently. The fact that it's being called Fantastic Four: The First Steps, you can look at that, as I said earlier in this show, as a consideration toward not only what they're doing initially in Marvel Studios' adaptation of the film, but as the first family taking its first steps and hopefully toward bigger steps in everything else that's going on within Marvel, because they are joining a litany of characters that have become favorites of people who have been a part of the cinematic universe. And this being the 37th film, can you imagine through all the 4 phases, almost 5 phases, that there have been 37 films, you guys? Amazing stuff. Here is some production art that depicts those actors playing the characters and how they're supposed to look. As you can see, Johnny on top. Underneath Johnny is Ben Grimm, and then Reed and Sue, how they're depicted in their costumes. I think that this is going to be faithful to what has transpired in the source material, and I think that it's going to be interesting to see them behave like Marvel Studio characters. I had my own ideas of how a Reed Richards could have worked out. Pedro Pascal is a guy that works with Disney. You know, he's on The Mandalorian. They like to do a lot of in-house recasting. For a while, they were talking about Adam Driver being cast as Reed Richards, which I totally could not see. I mean, that would have been no. But I could give Pedro a pass. He's a decent actor, but he has had some issues behind the scenes with fans and the organization. So I don't know how that's going to work out with him. Vanessa Kirby is a very strong actress. She'll probably be the anchor of what transpires here. I do believe if Kevin Feige has made the changes that have been rumored to take place behind the scenes, this film has a great chance of hitting the ground running. They were engulfed in some behind the scenes D&I kind of stuff going on, which means for diversity and inclusion and DEI, excuse me, I said D&I, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And they had people who were writing material and trying to shape the studios into a certain type of movement that was really tanking the material that they were producing. So they ended up kind of sweeping and cleaning house, getting rid of a lot of folks. It hasn't been depicted publicly. I only know about it because I follow certain trades and even podcasts that are online that talk about this stuff for us nerds. But I'm not getting into the political aspect of that. The only thing I will say is source material, source material, source material. You can't go wrong with that. If you want to create new characters with new stories to take you to new places and uncharted territory, please be obliged to do so. But do not take our established characters several generations old and try to change them up and make them something unfamiliar or weird. It's not fair to all of us who have been around long enough since these characters were created. Here's another artist's rendition of how the characters are supposed to look. And as you see Ben Grimm sitting there reading a magazine with Johnny glancing over at him, smiling, you know, that's how Ben is supposed to look in the film. And if he looks like that, it's a lot like the comics. Pedro and Vanessa are there playfully engaging, and you can see their costumes. What I have heard about this film, salute to Derek Gaines out there, I see you. What I have heard is that this team will be from the 60s, but they are not from the 616 universe. And what will be different is the fact that their 60s is gonna kind of be like a mishmash of things where, if you guys remember the cartoon, the Jetsons, their 60s are gonna be kind of like that. There'll be some elements of our world, the 616, that'll be a part of that, but they're gonna be a much more advanced existence for them at that time. And they're going to already be established with their powers and everything. And I do believe by them coming from another universe or multiverse, Galactus is going to be a part of that, even if he helps to destroy their universe, which is how they're going to end up with the 616. And they may not end up with the 616 right away, but there will be events that take place that they will find themselves here. That's going to be interesting. If you remember Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, when he and Erica Chavez were going through the multiverses, and they were going through different places like New York and everything. Like he went to that one universe where there was that statue outside of the sanctuary of Doctor Strange. It was like a memorial because he had sacrificed his life against Thanos or something. And our Doctor Strange from 616. He was looking at the statue like, what, I'm dead here or whatever. And then they were walking down the street, and the street lights and stuff like that were all kind of different. And then there were elements of the architecture that were similar to our universe, but different in other aspects. I think that's how that's going to be for them. And if that is the case, that'll be pretty cool, because they could still be futuristic, but from old school. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a dynamic play there. And I think that that's an interesting aspect. And don't forget that He Who Remains from the Loki series, also known as Kang, is a distant relative of Reed Richards. You know, it's like he is a descendant of the Reed Richards bloodline. So there's some things going on here with the storytelling that they are gonna have to tie up. That's why I said that the Loki series is gonna be prominent with this. And if you look at this artwork, there appears to be Herbie the robot right there. Now, if you guys remember Herbie the robot from the animated series, there was a point where the Fantastic Four consisted of Reed, Sue, Ben, and Herbie, and Johnny wasn't around, right? So Herbie was the fourth member. So even in this artist's rendition here, they're showing Herbie, who may be a part of what they're doing in their society, in their reality, in their universe. So they're still finding a way to bring these characters in, which is pretty cool. You know what I mean? That all of that is really spot on. There's some really good ways of writing things. And if you heard me read off the tangent of writers that they have contributing to this, because they're trying to do it right, people. They're trying to do it different than how it was done before, but still bring you the familiar characters that you know and love from the source material. That's the best way to go, to put you in a position of what you can identify with. And that right there is, I have to take my hat off if that's actually where they're going. So, you know, as I said before, there's plenty to do and plenty to be found, you know, with what they're doing with the Fantastic Four. I'm trying to see if I could pull up this image of Ben Grimm that they showed online a few days ago. There was a behind the scenes image of Ben being dressed, his costume being put on him. It's really weird. I can't see it now. But if they bring Galactus in, that's going to be very interesting, because Galactus is probably what's going to run them from the old universe into our universe. Here it is. Hopefully I can pull this up for you guys. Hopefully. Let's see if I could do this. Wow. See if I could do this. Yeah, I can do it. All right. Okay, now I'm going to take out one of these images so I can put the new image in. Now check this out, guys. I'm going to show you a picture of what the new Ben Grimm is supposed to look like. And the image that I selected, it's got a picture of how he looked in the comics alongside of him, because it's like some set personnel are putting him in his costume. So it's not a full shot, but it's kind of like from the torso up. When you guys take a look at this, that's Ben Grimm being put in his costume. What do you guys think? So he's going to be practical. They'll probably use a little CGI to animate his face or something, but it's going to be practical. You know what I mean? What do you guys think? I think that's pretty spot on. You know, Marvel Studios, if they don't do nothing, man, they can make those characters look like they're supposed to look. No comments? No comments? Jimmy Bernard says, looks great. A little of CGI, way better than the last one. Yeah, well, like I said, he's practical. That's a man in that suit there. And it's the actor that they hired to play him. So the CGI will probably come to animate the face, you know, to make him, you know, because the way they can do that now, it's like they can make a matte of him and just do his face like they do the Hulk. But I think that's pretty cool. Champion Heart says it looks cool. Yeah. Yeah. See, when you get a chance to see the characters looking strong like that, you know, it gives you better, you know. Their gains. No, they're going for the practical thing. They're going for him looking practical. Yeah, I think that that's pretty cool that they've done that like that. There's a bigger photo that I could put up, but it's not letting me do it because the file is different. Okay, here's one with his mask. His mask hasn't been put on yet. Check this out, guys. Look at that. You see they haven't put his mask on him yet? Look at his arms and his whole physique. How much bigger than that lady he is. Well, you guys see that though? You look that I think that looks great, man. He's definitely bigger than Michael Chiklis, right? Definitely bigger than that. And he's not as big as that CGI thing from Fox's reboot of the Fantastic Four. No, Derek Gaines, it's not so much that the CGI is too expensive. By making him practical, they will be able to use CGI in more dramatic ways for him. Like certain types of action scenes, you know, the guy can be there, but the animated CGI version of him will almost be seamless. You won't be able to, it's gonna look good in post-production. I guarantee you, it's gonna look great. It's gonna look great. It's like Thanos. Thanos was practical. That was James Brolin walking around on the set and stuff, but then they put the CGI over him because he's not that big, he's not that muscular and everything. You know what I'm saying? So Ben in this, they've got a huge suit on him, and then if they need to animate a certain kind of way or whatever, they'll do that. I think this is going to be pretty cool. I think it's very good, actually. That's exciting, man. And that last image that I showed you with his face, you know, he looks just like the comic character. Look at that, his face. I wish I could get a closer up shot than of his face, but I can't. But see, this is like after they pulled his mask over his head, because he can't put his mask on himself, because on his other show, on his other shot here, you can see he's got the gloves on his hands, the big gloves. Yeah. Yeah, they're making it, you know, and his rocks are gonna look like Ben Grimm. They're not gonna look like pebbles and stones and stuff. Cause this one here, the Ben Grimm that you see standing behind these guys right here, it just looks like rocks and everything all cobbled up, right? And his face did not look like Ben Grimm from the comics. It just kind of looked like a mashed in face of a guy, you know. But the Ben Grimm that's going to be in this production looks like Ben Grimm. Comic accurate. Exactly, J-Man. You know, look at that brow on him. That looks just like the comic rendition that's right next to him. And imagine once he starts talking and his mouth moving and stuff, he's gonna be awesome, man. He's gonna be awesome. Well, the Hulk is a totally different guy. But what you have in the Hulk's of facial appearance and expression, that's Mark Ruffalo's face, man. The way they did that was amazing. Because even when what's his name? What's his name, guys, that played the Incredible Hulk? When he played the Incredible Hulk, the Hulk didn't look like him. It just looked like a different entity. But Mark Ruffalo's face is in the Hulk's makeup. You could see that. The way they were able to transfer that was amazing. I remember when he did the first Avengers film in the behind the scenes feature, they were talking to him and he was like, look at that. Even when the Hulk was roaring with his mouth open, he was like, those are my teeth. He was like, they took a mold of my teeth and my mouth and they put it in the Hulk's mouth. I was like, dang, they went through true detail. Actually, the animation companies that Marvel hired to do the first Avengers film, and then like the last two different animation companies. But I like the one that did the first Avengers film because the Hulk looked like a Ed Norton. Thank you, Champion Heart. I drew a brain fart once again. You be trying to think of all this stuff while you're talking and it doesn't come to you. Ed Norton, thank you. Ed Norton's Incredible Hulk did not look like him. Although Ed Norton had a scar on his face, I don't know where he picked that scar up when he was making that film. That film that he played the that skinhead guy. I think he got cut for real and they tried to use makeup to cover that up, but he still had that scar on his cheek a little bit when he did the Incredible Hulk film. So when he changed to Hulk, they put that little scar on his face too. That was attention to detail, but he did not look like he did not look like Ed Norton. Now Eric Bana's Hulk, the Hulk, he did look like Eric Bana a little bit. They put a little bit of his face in there, but not enough. But Mark Ruffalo, they did an excellent job with him. Yeah, Rasheed Rourke, American X. When he made American X, he suffered, I think he got hit for real or something and cut his face. There was a little scar there on his cheek. And when he turned around to do the Incredible Hulk, that scar hadn't healed up completely and the makeup didn't hide it very well. And he still had it. So they put the scar on the Hulk's face too. But Ed Norton doesn't have that scar on his face anymore. So he must have had some plastic surgery or something to take care of that. But yeah. But I'm excited for this, you guys. I really am excited. That's why I wanted to do a Nerds show on it. I'm sorry that my brother Drew Titan couldn't join us tonight. I know he would have loved to join in on this conversation because this is gonna be exciting. You know, Marvel has lost me with what they've done with the whole DEI stuff and these people that were trying to change everything with the woke agenda and all of that. But I'm very happy with the Deadpool and Wolverine film because it's familiar to what they have been doing, and I am totally aware and abreast of the circumstances that Ryan Reynolds fought to get that film made the way that you see it in the theaters. And thank you, Ryan Reynolds. If your fan base for Deadpool haven't thanked you enough, I want to thank Ryan Reynolds for what he fought for. You guys have no idea what that man went through to get that film made and brought to the screen the way it is, because they were really trying to pull some mess with him behind the scenes and trying to fill his film up with some more woke stuff, and he refused. He refused, and he stood strong and tall, and I will forever respect him for what he did with that. And it's one of the reasons why the Blade film is not been in production and probably won't, because they were trying to do that with Blade 2. They were trying to bring Blade in as a way of bringing other female characters in and everything, and making him the backstory, making him the a co-star of his own film. But they were going to use his franchise to kick off other characters, and Mahershala Ali didn't sign up for that, and they've gone through 2,500 rewrites because they still trying to come to him and get it. And remember, when they announced Mahershala Ali as the new Blade, that was 5 years ago, people. 5 years ago. You could have gone to college and got your degree by then, you know? And Mahershala Ali, who was like 40, I think, at the time when they had announced that he was going to be Blade, the man is 50 years old now. And we just saw, Wesley cameo in Deadpool, and he's 60 years old now, but he still looks good, right? Wesley is a martial artist in real life, so he keeps himself in pretty good shape and everything. But why are these other people? They could bring Robert Downey Jr. back with no problem. They can have all these other people, bring Harrison Ford in and all of this foolishness, but they can't let these super black actors do their thing. And people are making a fuss over Anthony Mackie being the new Captain America, when the Falcon in the comics, according to source material, became the new Captain America for a while. You know what I mean? And it's like Mackie is just continuing on with the character arc in the stories. But these people who have bias and bigoted ways and outlooks, they don't want that. They don't want that. They're not turning Captain America black. The first Captain America was black. If you read the source material, if you look at the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series, it tells you. It's right there. But they can get mad all they want. Hashtag recast T'Challa. Yeah. This is Stormybman. I appreciate everybody that came out this evening to support, wrote in the chat. I'm sorry that my brother and partner Drew Titan couldn't make it with us tonight. I hope that he gets his power back for his service, because he usually does a pep talk on Monday nights as well. So hopefully he can get that together. But I want to thank all of you all. This was a great show. We held it down, and we look forward to Fantastic Four: First Steps. I want to say shout out to the mighty LDBC, and we'll catch you next week for another Nerds. Peace to everybody. Enjoy the rest of your holiday evening. I'm out.